Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. For a second there, I forgot where I was. Okay. Where am I? It is Friday. We're going to review some stories from earlier in the week and maybe even earlier in the month. I have no idea. Some updates. And also, we're going to talk about cheese. It's very important that I tell you we're talking about cheese today. So let's go ahead and
Cheesy Friday.
Start our news show here.
We made it to Friday again.
Today on Before Coffee, cheese and chips. Parmesan producers fight fakes with microtransponders.
U.S. mortgage rate jumped to the highest level since 2002.
2000 and why is that happening? And 2. Okay. One big adventure. The Russian minister who fled the draft to drive trucks in the U.S.
And we talk about Donald Trump and how he keeps conning his broke lawyers into going to jail.
We're going to summarize the day so far in the Ukrainian-Russian war.
And on the Friday news dump, we update 3 stories. You got the Kansas newspaper story, the Maui fire story, and Hurricane Hillary. Today on August 18th, 2023 edition of Before Coffee. That's why all the
Friday news dump. Is that what we're calling it now?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because they try to bury all the bad news at once on Friday, so people get confused and only report one story. Maybe
it's the weekend. You're gonna forget it anyways, because you're gonna go out partying or something, or drink a beer all weekend, and you're gonna be like, "Huh? Bad stuff's happening. I forgot."
That first shot of Jägermeister is gonna bring you on through. You can forget about the world.
Well, speaking of things that go well with alcohol, cheese! Joanna Partridge at The Guardian is going to tell us about counterfeits of being the bane of Parmigiano-Reggiano Consortium. Right. So, when is a cheese not what it seems? When it's a fake Parmesan. Italy's renowned Parmigiano-Reggiano, favored for finishing off bowls of pasta and rocket salads, is one of the most counterfeited cheeses in the world. Now, its manufacturers have found a new way to hit back against the lookalikes by adding microchips to their cheese. So, for the non-cheese connoisseurs out there, Parmesan is specifically from an area of Italy. It's like how they talk about champagne, right? It's not champagne if it wasn't made in Champagne, France. That's how it works, okay? So, while that stuff you buy in the green shaking can is called Parmesan, it might not be Parmesan, especially since it's so cheap. It's probably fake Parmesan, powdered cheese, white American or something, and they're like, yeah, this is Parmesan, sure. So, we've got the people who make the real stuff in Parmesan in Italy who are like, this is not it. And you're going to pay for trying to trick everyone into buying really expensive cheese when it's not even from here. You're not even from here. Move is the latest innovation from Parmigiano-Reggiano Consortium, PRC, the association which oversees production, which has been trying a century to fight off cheaper imitations that do not follow the exact requirements to make the real deal. The cheese, which can trace its history back to the Middle Ages, gained the EU's prized Protected Designation of Origin (PDO) status in 1996. Wow, so it's almost 30 years been protected as a regional cheese. Under those rules, Parmigiano-Reggiano, the only kind which can be called Parmesan within Europe, but America, they can do whatever, obviously. Only it's within Europe. Must be made in a small part of northern Italy, including in provinces of Parma and Reggio Emilia. In addition, the wheel of cheese, which weigh on average 40 kilograms or 88 pounds, have to be matured for at least 12 months in mountain area and are tested by experts 2 years after production to ensure they make grade. BDO status is given to foodstuffs produced, processed, and prepared in a given geographical area using recognized know-how and covers French champagne, Portuguese port, Kalamata oil, olive oil from Greece. Given the strict rules in attaining the certification, such as delicacies usually sell for higher prices, make it an enticing market for copycats. Indeed, the PRC estimates the annual global sales of counterfeit cheese is about $2 billion or 1.6 billion pounds. Not far off of those authentic products which hit a record high of 2.9 billion euros last year. We just used 3 currencies. You're welcome trying to understand which one of those you care about. Now producers have been trailing the most modern of authentication methods. Microtransponders about the size of a grain of salt inserted in the labels found on the rind of the 120,000 wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano. The microchips are food safe, but are unlikely to be eaten, given that their location is in the cheese's hard skin, which is made from milk protein casein. Yeah, most people don't eat the cheese casing. There are some cases you can do that. Haha, cases. Like brie, you can eat the casing of brie cheese because it's very soft. But some people don't like it because it's really flavorless. It's just wax.
It's basically all edible. It won't kill you.
Yeah, it won't kill you, but it's also not delicious or anything. It doesn't add anything.
It won't make you poop very well. That's
yeah. Well, that's cheese in general. The chips work as long-lasting, scannable food tags that allow consumers to track their product back to where it originated. Made by the U.S. company P-Chip Corporation, man, they missed out on calling it like cheese chip or something, you know? Cheese and chip and dip, cheese chip dip corporation. They're embedded directly into a QR code label and function like tiny digital anchors for physical items, according to the company. We keep fighting with new methods. Alberto Picorotti from PRC told the Wall Street Journal, "We won't give up. We will protect this cheese." The new way of treating the cheese came about through a partnership between the PRC, P-Chip, and Dutch-French cheese market producers, Kaasmerk Matek. Despite billing itself as a unique and inimitable cheese, according to PRC, the previous mark of origin has not been enough to fend off some counterfeits. Under that system, all wheels of cheese made from 550 liters of milk carried a case-in plate featuring a unique and sequential alphanumeric code, functioning as an ID card. The code made up a distinctive dot pattern running around the wheel and included the month and year of production. New microchips are the latest stage in the cheese's history, which dates back more than thousands of years to when it was devised by Benedictine and Cistercian monks looking for a long-lasting foodstuff. Producers now believe no technology is needed, at a time when exports of Parmesan to international markets are increasing, with just under half of last year's production make its way beyond Italy's borders. The digestion of the tracking process was designed to convey the value of our product globally and distinguish it from similar sounding products on the market that do not meet our strict requirements for production and area of origin, PRC President Nicolai Bertinelli has previously said. The threat from knockoff varieties first raised its head after the First World War, when a South American imitation called Reggianito appeared on the market, which had been created by Italian immigrants to Argentina. Last year, the PRC was successful in blocking the U.S. food giant Kraft Heinz from registering the Kraft Parmesan trademark in Ecuador, and hailed that as a notable victory, given that the EU's PDO status is not recognized everywhere outside of Europe. Yes, like I said, that green can of Parmesan is not Parmesan. Who knows what it actually is? It's just cheese.
It's cheese.
Well, it's just cheese.
Ironically, you talk to a guy who milked cows.
Yes.
And our milk went to Kraft, and you know what they made from it? Exclusively and the only thing they made from our cow's milk was Parmesan cheese.
The green can.
I'm sorry,
cheese.
It was cheap knockoff cheese in America, but there you go. That's what they called it. Sue Kraft, don't sue me.
All right, your story.
I'm getting fed up with this. But it was a good story. Anyway.
A good story.
Cheesy come, cheesy go. Anyway, hope they're not making an Asiago out of themselves. I like that. That's also a Italian cheese. It's actually my favorite. The one
Asiago.
Asiago. Another town in Italy.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. We're kind of updating stories today because this is an update, because we're always updating mortgage rates and interest rates. Did you? U.S. mortgage rates jump again because let me get this. Need those because my screen is big. It's so giant it takes up this entire wall. It's overwhelming me. Help the screen, it's coming to get me. All right. The average 30-year fixed mortgage has climbed to above 7%, making it harder for buyers to afford more homes which are already in short supply. And of course, why are they high? Because the Fed keeps raising rates because they think that it fights inflation. But how is it fighting inflation when my mortgage goes up $15 a month and the principal goes down $15 a month, which means I've thrown $30 into the fire every month instead of getting anything for it. Yeah, that's basically what happens. That's inflation, folks. I don't know why they think raising prices curbs inflation. It doesn't. It's just one of them theories they've been operating on for years and years and years and years and years. And they noticed a correlation. You notice that we raise interest rates, that eventually everybody loses their job, and that stops inflation. Yeah, that's not stopping inflation. That's creating a recession. Anyway, economists argue about this stuff.
Job.
What?
And then everyone loses their job, and it's fixed. Yeah.
And then you get what China has, which is deflation, which they're just really enjoying now. No, they're not. They're like, holy fuck, we're fucked. That's what they're saying right now. Mortgage rates surged to a 21-year high this week, a jump that will make it even harder for buyers to afford homes. The average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, the most popular home loan in the United States, was 7.09, up from 6.96 last week. A year earlier, the 30-year rate was 5.13. In my personal experience, that is almost 2 percentage points, by the way. In my personal experience, I have a adjustable year mortgage, and the mortgage, it's for land. It was just not the biggest loan in the world, but the payment went from 401 to 415, and the interest, the actually equity that I got in the home, in the land, went down $15 with each payment. So it's about $27 I'm setting on fire every single month simply because the Fed raised rates. Analysts say they expect mortgage rates to remain lofty in the near term and start cooling only gradually by the end of the year. The current rate is the highest since April 02. Since then, homebuyers enjoyed years of falling rates, even dipped below 3% at the beginning of the pandemic. But as mortgage rates began abruptly rising last year, when the Federal Reserve started lifting interest rates to rein in rapid inflation, the housing market is stagnant. Surprise! As homeowners with the low mortgage rates, another thing that does is people aren't buying homes, it slows building, cuts construction jobs, throws people out of work, and their goal, no inflation because nobody has any money. Yay! In June, sales of existing homes fell nearly 19% from the year before. 19%. That's a big drop. Way to go, Fed. The scarcity of listings that kept housing prices elevated. So it has, the median price of existing home was to $410,200 in June. That is so discouraging. The second highest since the organization began tracking data in 1999, only marginally down from a high of $413,800 a year ago. And experts do not think the housing market will cool off anytime soon because, of course, we have speculation, which is basically big corporations buying big tracts of housing and just charging whatever the hell they want to because they're big corporations that are not going to, and if they lose money, they'll just cut their bottom line somewhere. On Tuesday, Goldman Sachs revised upward its forecast for home prices, predicting a 1.8% rise in prices this year, a 3.5% jump in 2024. Affordability remains burdensome, analysts at the bank said in a report citing tighter housing supply and steady demand for homes. That's bad news for would-be home buyers like Kathleen Schmidt, who rents a house in Toms River, New Jersey. By the way, this is New York Times. I didn't give them their byline here. This is New York Times' Gregory Schmidt. He's probably interviewing his neighbors, so that's cool. Well, no, his name is Gregory Schmidt, and he interviewed Kathleen Schmidt. No relation? No relation? Who rents a house in Tom River, New Jersey with her husband and 2 teenage children. Heck, it might even be her own wife, his own wife. She said that they were trying to save 20% down and pay on a townhome nearby, and that the jump in mortgage rates was discouraging. I just felt a pit in my stomach. We're never going to be able to buy a home, said Mrs. Schmidt, who owns KMSPR, a public relations firm for authors and publishers. And my dream forever was to own a home someday because it's something my parents never did. We want something left for our kids. Yeah, the taxes. Because what'll happen, you'll die, and none of the kids will have to, oh yeah, we got to sell it for the taxes. Affordability is a persistent challenge for the homeowners, said Jeff Osterowski, an analyst at the personal finance company at Bankrate, who predicted that rates would remain elevated for some time. I think buyers are going to have to buckle their chin straps and figure out how to make it work. Damn it, I forgot my chin strap. Fuck. I'm never prepared for the housing market. You need a chin strap. Stupid. I gotta go to the sporting
Forget your
goods store.
housing chin strap.
Where do you keep your housing chin straps? Mom? Huh? It was a metaphor. The builders are making profits and their stock margins have increased from a year ago, said Lawrence Young, the chief economist at the National Association of Realtors. He added that national builders like KB Home, Liz Lennar, and Toll Brothers we continue to add inventory to make Wall Street happy. National builders. There needs to be more local and regional builders, not a bunch of big corporations. Don't give a crap about your community. Milk you for low wages and then lay you off when everything gets tough. So here we are in another morass of the government making it harder to buy money, or to buy money, yes, to buy a mortgage, just to please the rich bankers. Your story.
Damn, I wish I was a rich banker, because then I could get pleased by the government every day, instead of really disappointed.
All we can do is yawn and yell.
Okay, let's go on to... Speaking of, I don't know if this has... Well, this has to go with the government a little bit. Hey, are you scared of being conscripted as a Russian minister? Don't worry, you can draft dodge by going to the U.S. This is from Petor Sauer on The Guardian. And supposedly we just got in the news here on the chat that there's been nuclear threats, so I'm going to look into that during your story. The former minister drove his white truck north until he reached Michigan. The Great Lakes provide a welcome relief for the scorching Texas heat. After years of navigating the Byzantine corridors of provincial Russian power, Denis Sharonov now works as a truck driver, steering his way through vast highways of the U.S. It's heavenly up here in Michigan. Texas was too hot, said Sharonov, a former agricultural minister of the Komi Republic in northern Russia, in an interview. Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine has set off a historic exodus of his own people. Since the start of the invasion, hundreds of thousands of Russians are believed to have left the country, driven by their opposition to the war and the fear of being sent to the front lines. Many have scrambled to find jobs in exile and plot out new lives from their laptops. But few career changes are unusual as that made by Sharonov, who fled Russia in September 2022 after receiving his draft papers. A lot of people don't understand my choice. They mock me. They say I downshifted from a regional minister to a truck driver, Sharonov said. But I don't see it that way at all. I am proud of what I do, he added. Sharonov's Instagram, once filled with images of him in a suit and tie meeting officials and local farmers in Komi, now resembles one of a travel blogger on a road trip across the country. I mean, let's be honest here. You are a local minister, you dodge your draft, you go to a totally different country on the other side of the world. I think truck driver is a great thing to do, because then you can see the country you just fled to, basically. And also you help supply lines, I guess, so they can't complain about that.
Total strangers.
Yeah. And meet all sorts of different people at the truck stops.
Learn how to drive, lady.
In 2020, he became the Minister of Agriculture of Komi, a landlocked region in the north of Russia, almost the size of California. He has no previous experience in government, but said he had been offered the job after more than a decade in the agricultural industry. I was curious to see how the government works, he said, but he quickly grew disillusioned by what he described as a rampant corruption and bureaucracy that plagued his ministry. In Russia, the main reason people get into politics is to steal money. Corruption has ripped my country apart. Either you participate in it or you get tossed out, Sharonov said. He claimed he eventually fell out of favor with the regional head, Vladimir Yubia, after Sharonov refused to enter into a corrupt land scheme and was dismissed in January 2022. The month after his firing, Russian troops invaded Ukraine, a decision that left him feeling deeply disturbed. I realized that by staying in the country, I would be participating in an illegal war, one way or another, he said. The final straw came when he received a draft order to join the war during Russia's mobilization campaign last autumn. So even though in February he was like, oh, this is bad, he stayed until September, and then that's when he decided to leave. I guess that was the final straw, right? He was like, oh shit, now they want me to kill people? I'm out of here.
Ran out of straw.
Yeah. When military enlistment officers came to deliver a draft summons to my registered address, there was nothing left for me to do but leave the country, he said. Sharonov, who at 48 was told to be mobilized according to Russian law, linked the draft notice to his drawn-out conflict with Yubia, who claimed he tried to get rid of him by sending him off to Ukraine. Unwilling to fight in Putin's war, he chose to flee the country. Having studied in Vermont during an exchange in 1995, he decided to try his luck in the U.S. Vermont? That's... What university is in Vermont?
University of Vermont.
Probably, yeah, his state university. After a long journey with stops in Kyrgyzstan and Dubai, Sharonov eventually landed in Mexico, where he crossed the U.S. border on foot and applied for asylum. Aha! See? Interesting! Wait a minute, I thought we were protecting the U.S. from Mexicans, but I guess we should protect you from Russian draft dodgers, because they're the ones who are crossing the border from Mexico. Wait, what's going on here? Wait a minute.
Clergyman. Jeez, clergyman, that's a crime wave right there.
He couldn't fly to I'm guessing he was scared he couldn't fly to the U.S. with his passport, so that's why he decided to fly to Mexico and then he could have flew to Canada and walked in, but he specifically flew to Mexico and walked across the border. Yet another example of white people doing the crimes that brown people get accused of. Okay, sorry.
I'll never blend in with all those white people.
I was called a border jumper for my entire childhood, so like this is crazy to me that a Russian did it. A Russian. Okay. The U.S. has recorded a massive spike in Russian immigration since the start of the war. Of course it has, with more than 8,600 Russians seeking refuge in the U.S. border with Mexico over the last month. 30 times the 249 who did so during the same period before the war. No kidding. While awaiting the result of his asylum application, Sharonov started to look for ways to earn an income. Working as a truck driver seemed like the most straightforward way to make a living, he said. Pointing to the weak ruble, which hit a 60-month low this week. The weak ruble, which is their currency in Russia, which has hit a 16th-month low this week. He said that the money he made driving a truck was not very far off from the salary of a regional minister in Russia, although he quickly added that most officials found other means to make money. As he said before, corruption. But it's not really about the salary, it's about feeling free. It's an honest job, Sharonov said. In 6 months as a truck driver, he said he has visited 45 U.S. states. Describing in detail the beauty of California's west coast, sometimes it feels like one big adventure, discovering the country on the road. Yeah, I'm almost jealous of that. Too bad I don't want to drive. I wish I could travel the world without driving. He hopes he can experience it to find employment in the agricultural sector. Sharonov is one of the few former Russian officials who have spoken out against the war shortly after the full-blown invasion. Anatoly Chubyas, a veteran reformer and former Kremlin climate envoy, quietly resigned. Chubyas remained the highest-ranking official to leave the Kremlin since the start of the war. Many officials are against the war but are gripped by fear, said Sharonov, and money, because they can't get that corrupt money if they leave the government. They're gonna they get up every morning and convince themselves they have no other choice. No such thoughts about Sharonov, for whom the open road awaits again. His next stop? Alabama. Sweet home Alabama. Okay, that's our story from Sharonov, our Russian truck driver who, I don't know, I guess he's a hero in a way, a local hero.
Maybe he can
crossing the Mexican
some of
border.
Maybe he can smuggle some of that illegal cheese to us. That's a bad joke. Okay. And in Leopard Ate Their Faces party news, which is the famous, I don't know who made the joke, but it's funny. There's a theoretical party called the Leopard Ate Their Faces party, and their nominee is a leopard or whatever, and at the end of the story, the leopard eats everybody's face, and they're totally shocked that a leopard ate their faces. And that perfectly described, if I told the story properly, it did. Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis, the latest indicted Trump lawyers. Well, among a group of several. This is an opinion column from the Daily Beast, so you know it's going to be cutting edge with a name like the Daily Beast. And it's written by Matt Lewis, which is a cutting edge name. I don't know. Anyway, it's probably not. There's no honor among thieves, so why am I starting to feel sorry for Jenna Ellis, a lawyer who is part of Donald Trump's elite strike force? Elite, huh? If by elite you mean non-elite, yes. She was recently charged as a co-conspirator with Trump in his attempt to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia, and yet the ex-president has hung her out to dry. She has become a apostate in the Trump world. You see, she committed the mortal sin of disloyalty to Trump. She's supporting Ron DeSantis in the 2024 Republican primary, though she's not the only ex-Trump associate who's gone for the Florida's governor or not otherwise run afoul of Trump. She might end up paying the highest price. In lieu of Trump's financial support, Ellis, who previously admitted to violating ethics rules regarding statements she made about the 2020 election, is crowdfunding her legal defense. Oh, yeah, give her money. At the time of this writing, she is approaching $50,000, a sum that might just cover a couple of days' worth of legal representation. Maybe. This is all par for the course for a guy known to cheat at golf, stiff contractors, flip-flop on paying legal fees and rally goers for paying legal fees for rally goers to punch protesters. He never paid that. And promise food for everyone before dashing out without dining. His flunkies are always stuck with his never-ending tab. What else would else expect? But again, I can't help but feel a tad sorry for her because she joined Trump's legal team. Ellis was a young Colorado attorney practicing in county courts, defending clients in domestic abuse cases and teaching legal cases at a local Christian university, who the Wall Street Journal noted handled traffic cases and other misdemeanors. But how do we explain Rudy Giuliani, Ellis's senior partner in crime, who claims to have pioneered the use of RICO back when he was a prosecutor, making the same rookie mistake? In case you missed it, Giuliani, who's already in dire financial straits due to his various other legal bills, was also indicted in Georgia this week. He reportedly made a personal visit to Mar-a-Lago to beg Trump for help, according to CNN. Trump didn't seem very interested, although he verbally agreed to cover some of the costs, whatever that means. The New York Times' Maggie Haberman explained that to CNN that Trump didn't want Giuliani paid unless Giuliani delivered on his promises. And that obviously didn't happen. Presumably, Trump would cover Giuliani's legal fees if the attempted coup worked, in which case, Rudy wouldn't have any legal fees. You would be a part of a dictatorship. You just have that guy who owes you money arrested and shot. Or you owe money or whatever. You don't have to be a former mayor or a legendary prosecutor to realize that you might be left holding the proverbial bag. What happened to Rudy is one of the greatest questions of our time. Theories abound. He drinks too much. He needs a wife to keep him in line, etc. But a definitive explanation for the radical transformation doesn't exist. However, I think Rudy's always been a drunk. According to everybody who's known him for a long time, he's just always been this way. We just didn't notice. Giuliani biographer Andrew Kurtzman shed some light on the puzzling question. During an interview with MSNBC, Kurtzman noted that Donald Trump literally took Giuliani into Mar-a-Lago right after his failure in 2008 and kind of shielded Giuliani. One could imagine Trump occasionally practicing random acts of kindness, albeit in ways that do not involve him giving away any of his own money. In keeping with the theory to defray Rudy's legal bills, Trump has agreed to stop two fundraisers for Giuliani. Still, we're left wondering, how did the guy who channeled Winston Churchill in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, which was another con game, 9/11 attacks later turned into a guy who held a press conference at Four Seasons Total Landscaping? Oh, we remember that one. And don't forget his face leaking. And why would the guy brave and canny enough to take on the mob be susceptible to Trump's charms? Donald Trump has a superpower. He gets people to believe he gives a crap about them and that they work hard for his interests and exhibit loyalty. He will do the same for them in return, writes Marcos Melistus at Daily Kos. And this is the key. Trump gets them to ignore the legion of broken, unpaid, and abandoned former contractors, employees, and allies he's consistently left behind. Somehow he convinced the next suckers that they are different. Trump has honed gaslighting into an art form. Ellis and Giuliani probably thought their rules didn't apply to them, that they were different from the other marks foundering in Trump's wake, that Trump was their friend. Presumably, they thought the con they helped perpetuate against American public was limited to grifting other people. They thought wrong. When a Georgia grand jury indicted Rudy Giuliani along with Donald Trump, 17 notice this week, the irony that he was charged under the state version of the federal racketeering law was widely noted. The prosecutor turned mayor turned MAGA hackery MAGA lackey has wielded the Racketeer Influence Corruption Organization RICO statutes. That's what RICO stands for. Racketeer Influence and Corruption Organizations. Corrupt organizations. RICO. And now he is being accused of violating a similar law in a bungled attempt to overturn an election. For nearly 4 decades, Giuliani has claimed that his ID used RICO, prosecuted 11 members of New York's 5 crime families in 1985 after crime boss Joe Bonanno published a memoir that described the workings of the mafia. I dreamed up the tactic, Giuliani wrote in the 2002 book Leadership. I revealed that Bonanno's description of how families were organized provided a roadmap to precisely what the RICO statute was designed to combat. As soon as I became U.S. Attorney, I was able to hoist Bonanno by his literary petard. But the legal eminence who actually drafted the RICO statute and a former top New York State organized crime prosecutor told the Daily Beast that's not how it went down at all. Their version suggests that the irony of the Georgia indictment, the numerous lies that Giuliani is accused of perpetuating to keep Donald Trump in office, were superseded by a bogus origin story. As described in the book Giuliani, The Rise and Tragic Falls of American Mayor, Ron Goldstock of the New York State Organized Crime Task Force maintains that he took the idea of using RICO against the La Costa Nostra to Giuliani 2 months after he became U.S. Attorney in Manhattan. Giuliani's denied that, and the conflicting accounts have stood as a he said situation, although Giuliani has zero credibility left. Your story.
Okay, well, in Ukraine-Russian news, war news, we're going to do a little quick end of the week update here on what's happened so far. Just a list. We're going to read a list.
All right.
So here's the key events that have happened. Let's go from oldest to newest. Sweden has approved a 270 million euro security assistance package for Ukraine, said Oleksiy Rezunov, Ukraine's Minister of Defense. Russian Telegram channels are reporting that a Ukrainian flag was hoisted in front of the Federal Security Service building in Nizhny Novgorod, a city located about 265 miles east of Moscow. The flag was quickly removed. One civilian was injured, and private houses, farm building, and gas pipelines were damaged in the Russian shelling of Kherson Oblast. In the early hours of Friday, Ukraine's Prosecutor General's office has said. The General Staff of Ukraine's Armed Forces is estimating that Russian troops lost 460 personnel yesterday, bringing Ukraine's total estimate of Russian personnel killed since the invasion to 256,510. It's really specific when you get the 10, like 10 people. The thermal power plant in Donetsk Oblast was operating today at a reduced capacity due to the shelling that damaged the electricity line, said Ukraine's Energy Ministry. More than 14,000 consumers remain without electricity in the region. A large fire is burning at the Russian Novorossiysk fuel oil terminal in Novorossiysk. I can't say it because I don't know Slavic. One of the largest ports in the Black Sea that is located about 107 miles or 172 kilometers from Crimea. It's unclear as of now if the fire was caused by a Ukrainian drone strike. A coalition of 11 countries is due to start training Ukrainian pilots to fly F-16 jets this month in Denmark. I believe that's very special because F-16 jets are NATO certified vehicles, and you have to be in NATO to use them, but they're like, fuck it. Here you go.
We'll train you.
We'll train you. The training was greenlit a day after Ukraine said that based on current timelines, it would not be able to operate the jets by autumn or winter. Russian forces have destroyed Ukrainian drones targeting Moscow and its Black Sea fleet. Russian Defense Ministry said its Air Force downed a Ukrainian drone over the capital at about 4 a.m. or 100 hours GMT on Friday. Footage showed damage to an expo center on the Krasnoprezhnenskaya embankment on the Moscow River, 100 meters, 328 feet from Moscow City. Meanwhile, along the Black Sea, Russian naval patrols ships shot down a drone late Thursday night at about 237 kilometers southwest of Sevastopol, the base of the Black Sea Fleet on Moscow's annexed Crimean Peninsula. That's our updates on what's happening right now, and also a short update on what our person in chat has said earlier about tensions in the nuclear front. And this is because Belarus has stated, this is from CNN, that its use of nuclear weapons in an event of aggression is quite possible. Belarus would be willing to use nuclear weapons given by close ally Russia in the face of foreign aggression, President Alexander Lukashenko said Thursday, as tensions rise around the country's borders with NATO nations. Because, they drew up Poland drew its army to the border, and Belarus has Wagner on the border. So it's not looking good in Poland yet again. Let's hope that this is not the 15th attack on Poland in the history of the world. Minsk has played a key role in Russia's war in Ukraine, with Moscow using Belarus as one of its launch pads for the invasion in early 2022. While joint Russian-Belarus military drills over the past year have fueled concerns Belarusian troops could join Russian forces in the conflict. In June, Russian nuclear warheads were reportedly delivered to Belarus for deterrence, according to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Yeah, don't go to Belarus. Nobody wants to invade you. You're the one who's invading. Why would... You know what? Forget it. In an interview with state news agency Belta, Lukashenko claimed Belarus would never get involved in this war. Except that they kind of did by opening their borders and letting Russians walk right through. Unless Ukrainians crossed its border. What about Polish people? If they cross your border, you won't do anything, right? But he added, we will keep helping Russia. They are our ally. We're not involved, but we are involved. He also warned that if provoked, especially by neighboring NATO countries like Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia, Belarus would immediately respond with everything we have, including nuclear weapons. We would just drop it all, the whole payload. It's not clear how much of Russia's nuclear arsenal was transported to Belarus recently, and US and Western officials have not publicly confirmed that any weapons have been transferred. Though senior officials from the US Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, said that they had no reason to doubt Putin's claim. Yeah, it's better safe than sorry. Hey, they have nukes. Okay, we believe you. We really do. Thanks for telling us. During the interview, Lukashenko said, if Belarus were to come under attack, we will not tarry, wait, and rest. We will use the entire arsenal of our weapons for deterrence. We didn't bring nuclear weapons here in order to scare someone, he added. But it's a deterrent. That's why it's a deterrent, because people are too scared to touch you. Yes, nuclear weapons represent a strong deterring factor. But these are tactical nuclear weapons, not strategic ones. Tactical for what? Mining? Are you gonna mine? What are you gonna use tactically with it? This is why we use them immediately once aggression is launched against us. The senior DIA official said in July they do not believe Lukashenko would have any control over the arsenal, which would most likely be entirely controlled by Russia. So Russia can probably just decide, hey, launch the nukes. No! Sorry, Lukashenko, we don't care.
Which won't
Lukashenko also
happen.
weighed in on the ongoing war on Thursday, warning that Moscow would never give up the Crimean territory it illegally annexed from Ukraine more than 7 years ago. While Russia is open to negotiations on Ukraine, it will never ever return Crimea, he said, according to Belta. It won't happen. I doubt now that some agreement can be reached here, the East. But Russia is ready to discuss any topic, I know it for sure, Lukashenko said. However, he claimed that Ukrainians are pushed by Americans and don't want to negotiate at the moment, adding that talks have to start without preliminary conditions. Any peace talks on Ukraine should include Belarus, as we have our interest there and our position should be heard, he added. Okay, so you're basically in on the freaking invasion, but you're not participating on it, and you're still helping everyone, but you're not in the war or anything. So there's no reason anyone should ever invade you or attack you, because you're not doing anything. Crimea was
the Rudy Giuliani of countries.
Exactly, right. We're not doing anything at all, but we're definitely helping people.
Who's my friend?
We're just allies. Crimea was forcibly seized by Russia in 2015, soon after Ukrainian protesters helped topple pro-Russian President Viktor Yanukovych when the thousands of Russian special operation troops wearing unmarked uniforms deployed around the peninsula. 2 weeks later, Russia completed its annexation of Crimea in a referendum cascaded by Ukraine and most of the world as illegitimate. At the time, considered the biggest land grab in Europe since World War II. Since annexation, human rights observers have described Crimea's descent into a police state, with local authorities and Russian security services persecuting and arresting those perceived to be loyal to Ukraine, including members of the Crimean Tatar community. In 2020, a U.S. State Department report described a pattern of human rights abuses in Crimea by Russia and Russian-led authorities, including unlawful or arbitrary killings and forced disappearances. The occupied territory has since become a key part of the war in Ukraine, with the Crimean bridge linking the peninsula to the mainland of Russia, a vital supply link for Russian forces, and a target for Ukrainian counteroffensive. So, there you go, just a short story on how there's nuclear threats, but only because if you attack us. And there's no reason you should attack us because we're not doing anything, according to Lukashenko from Belarus.
But are they really threats? I mean, I'm not a nuclear engineer. I only play one on television, but if you drop a bomb in a country next to you, don't you get the fallout? Especially if they're west of you and weather tended to travel east. Wouldn't you get most of the fallout? Just a silly question. So I just think it's a silly threat. It's like, yeah, we're going to nuke tactical nuclear weapons. That's a good one. Oh yeah, they're tactical.
They're tactical.
They're
only for
it just means they're
bombing you.
smaller. It just means they're smaller. They're just one atom bomb on Hiroshima, or 2 instead of 50.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, updating of stories in Friday News Dump continues. We get back to the judge who signed the warrant, and we covered this earlier. The judge who signed the Kansas newspaper search warrant had 2 DUI arrests, reports say. A stack of latest edition of Weekly Marion County Record sits in the back of the newspaper. That's a picture description. All right, there we go. Starting the story, and this is from NPR, and they use AP photo. So, Bill Chappell. Police in Kansas have returned cell phones, computers, and other equipment to the Marion County Record less than a week after a raid of the small-town newspaper. Of course, they also killed a 98-year-old woman. They have not returned her. Which they can't.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Was widely criticized as a likely violation of federal law, you think? Kicking people's door in with a warrant or legal search warrant? Yes. In another development, news emerged that Magistrate Judge Laura Villar, who signed the search warrant allowing police to seize the equipment, was arrested at least twice for driving under the influence. Those 24 hours came months apart in 2 counties, and it's not clear how much information was shared between the 2 officials at the time, the Wichita Eagle reports. The extraordinary August 11th raid drew national and international headlines because it seemed to run counter to long-established press freedoms and guarantees. Seem to? Such actions are nearly unheard of in the U.S. It is very rare because it's illegal, First Amendment attorney Lynn Oberlander told NPR. It doesn't happen often because most organizations understand that it's illegal. Here's a quick recap where things stand. It was confidential trip to the record about the DUIs. It was It was a confidential tip to the record, which is the name of the paper, about the DUI history of Kari Newell, the local restaurant and catering company owner that set incidents in motion. The paper says it confirmed Newell had lost her driver's license using a public website, but the record opted not to publish the information, choosing instead to inform Marion County Sheriff Jeff Soyez and City Police Chief Gideon Cody about the source's allegation that the officers were aware a local resident couldn't legally drive but were ignoring issues with the license. The paper said it didn't use Newell's name. Days later, Newell publicly accused the record of feeding the information to the councilwoman, Ruth Herbal. The paper says the same source who made the initial allegations also sent the information to Herbal. Police then raided the Kansas newspaper after obtaining a search warrant from VIAR, citing a criminal investigation into identity theft regarding Newell's records found online. Officers also seized devices at Herbal's home. There was no evidence of any type that there was any attempt at identity theft, and the judge did not ask for any evidence. A photo from the Kansas State Judicial District website shows Magistrate Judge Laura Byer, who signed the search warrant authorizing police to raid a local newspaper in Marion, Kansas. The judge was arrested twice in 2012, once in January 25th in Coffee County, again on August 5th in Morris County. At the time, Byer's last name was Allen, and she was working as a top prosecutor in Morris County. So somebody's married her in the ensuing years. In the first arrest, Byer was charged with, maybe the cop married her. I don't know, he kept meeting her. Was charged in, no, it's two different cops, sorry, two different counties. Was charged and entered a diversion agreement, which was extended 6 months because she refused to get an alcohol and drug evaluation and stopped communicating with her lawyer. Oh, this woman's a judge. A judge. Thank you. Thank you very much, America. We have no standards anymore. Officials say she was driving Morris County Magistrate Judge Thomas Ball's vehicle when she ran off the road and hit a shed near the Council Grove football field. TV station reporter.
Good thing there's no game on.
Yeah. Good thing there was nobody in the shed.
Yeah.
She was charged with a DUI, reckless driving, and refusal to take a preliminary breathalyzer. What a judge. Of course, that just led to a brilliant legal career. Despite those issues, Vire was re-elected as county prosecutor several times. In late 2020, she was chosen to fill the slot as magistrate judge in the 8th Judicial District after sitting judge retired. Reporting on the 2012 charges this week, the Wichita Eagles, it was unclear how Vire's DUI cases were resolved and whether officials in either county or wherever rest in their jurisdiction. Yeah, so you told me about this the other day. I was like, oh yeah, you told me about DUI. I thought you were talking about that restaurant. You were talking about the judge. Sorry.
Yeah, there's like, we just found out that they're basically DUI buddies, and they're like, oh, I've had a DUI before. Yeah, I can help you, I don't know, aggressively attack a newspaper that might report on it. I have no idea. It's full of corruption, just full of corruption.
Marion County Attorney Joel Inslee, who formally requested for the judge to release the newspaper items, said in a written statement issued by the KBI that he made the decision after he reviewed in detail the warrant application on Monday that had led to last Friday's raid. Ainsley said he concluded insufficient evidence exists to establish a link between the alleged crime and the places that were searched and equipment. Dude, you broke the law getting this stuff in the first place. That's why you got to give it back. It can't be used as evidence. You had a legal warrant, it's not evidence, and there was no crime. Stop acting like you're doing, oh, this is above board. No, you're full of shit. Okay, other stories are updating. Embattled leader of Maui's County Emergency Management Agency has resigned under protest, under demands for his resignation, basically.
Yeah.
Maui Emergency Management Agency Administrator Herman Andaya speaks during describing the picture again. This is I'm reading captions.
Hey, people might want to know what the picture looks like, you know?
It's a picture of a guy reading. Rabina Koenig is the author from NPR. Maui, Hawaii, after facing criticism in recent days for his decision not to activate siren warning system in the midst of Maui fires, Maui Emergency Management Administrator Herman Nandala has stepped down, according to Facebook post by the county of Maui. He cited health reasons. Yeah, it's not healthy. People are going to be kicking my ass. Given the gravity of the crisis we are facing, my team and I will be placing someone in this key position as quickly as possible, and I look forward to making that announcement soon. Maui County Mayor Richard Bison said in a post, he's not an actual bison. At the press conference on Wednesday, Andea was asked whether he regretted choosing not to sound the sirens. I do not! Oh, okay. That's a brilliant statement. He does not regret 100 and some people dying. What a guy. He said that the sirens were primarily used for tsunamis, and that he had sounded them, they were afraid people would have gone mocha or towards the mountain.
Okay.
And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire. Like, people can't see a fucking fire. Is that a fire? I don't know. Keep running. Smells like a fire.
It's getting warmer and warmer as we keep going. Yeah,
God,
yeah,
it's really
that's
bright
normal.
and smoky. Are you sure?
I can't see where I'm going. It's fine. Just keep going deeper.
I don't know. Sound the alarm and people rub their eyes and go, what the fuck? How about that? They probably won't run towards the fire. I'm just guessing. Or they're morons, in which case we're doing us all a favor. We're getting rid of the morons. But other than, I don't know. If they run towards a fire, they're not that smart. Oh my God, it's tsunami. Which one? The tsunami or the fire? Fire or tsunami? Which one? Residents of West Maui expressed skepticism and even outrage at the idea that sirens would have prompted people to run towards a fire, which we were just saying. Many say they thought it would have helped. If I would have heard the siren that morning, I would have at least prepared, packed something in my car, called my parents, said Alex Kalma, a Lahaina resident who lost his home. One previous version described Maka as onto the mountainside. It is more accurate to say it is a directional indicator towards the mountain. That's just a correction for your story. And in another short update, this is from ABC News. And they get their story from the Associated Press. So, hello everybody using the same story. Hillary grows into a major hurricane in the Pacific off Mexico and could bring heavy rains to the U.S. Southwest. Hurricane Hillary has strengthened into a major storm off Mexico's Pacific coast, and it could bring heavy rain into the Southwest by U.S. in the weekend. I'm gonna read the news like they used to do in those newsreels way before I was born, when they didn't have TV, and you go to a movie and they'd show a newsreel before the movie. And they'd read it really fast because the film was it would go by really fast. Hurricane Hillary strengthened into a major storm on Thursday evening off Mexico's Pacific coast, and it could bring heavy rain into the southwestern United States by the weekend. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said Hillary's maximum sustained winds had risen to 125 miles per hour, and that's 195 kilometers per hour for those of you scoring at home, and those of you that are alone also, making it a Category 3 hurricane. The storm was expected to grow into a Category 4 hurricane Friday along a projected path that threatened landfall on the central Baja California Peninsula on Sunday. Surf's up! Surf's up! Surf is up. Hillary was centered around 445 miles south of Los Cabos on the southern tip of Baja Peninsula. It was moving west-northwest at 14 miles per hour, but it was expected to make northward heading in the coming days. The Hurricane Center said as Hillary moves onto or brushes the Baja Peninsula, it could possibly survive briefly as a tropical storm or tropical depression and cross the U.S. border. No tropical storm has made landfall in Southern California since September 25th, 1939, according to the National Weather Service. So truly a once-in-a-century event, which probably will keep happening now. As we hot planet just keeps surprising us. Rainfall impacts from Hillary within the southwestern United States are expected to peak this weekend into Monday, the Hurricane Center said. Flash urban and arroyo flooding, which arroyo is just another, like a ditch, okay? A really long, not very straight ditch. Carved by water. That's why, it was carved by water. That's why it runs to it. with the potential for significant impacts. The area potentially affected by the heavy rainfall could stretch from Bakersfield, California to Yuma, Arizona, which almost never gets any rain, as well as some parts of southern Nevada, which again almost never get any rain, especially in the summer. SpaceX announced Thursday that the hurricane caused a delay in the launch of a satellite carrying a rocket from the base of California's Central Coast till at least Monday. That's probably up at Vandenberg Air Force Base in Lompoc, which is up by Santa Barbara. The company said conditions in the Pacific could make it difficult for a ship to recover the rocket booster. In Southern California, an outlook for excessive rainfall stretched from Sunday to Tuesday, according to Los Angeles Weather Service. While the odds are against Hillary making landfall in California as a tropical storm, there's a high chance that major rain and flooding. UCLA climate scientist Daniel Swan said in an online briefing Wednesday. The Mexican government said a weakened Hillary might hit the coast Sunday night between the cities of Playas del Rosarito and Ensenada in the Baja California state. So all them California party goers will be down there in those two places having their hurricane parties. Meanwhile, the city of Yuma was preparing Thursday by providing residents with a self-serve sandbag filling station. And there's plenty of sand in Yuma, let me tell you. The sandbag station will be stocked with sand and empty bags for self-filling while supplies last. Residents were allowed 5 sandbags per vehicle. Ooh, a whole 5 sandbags. That'll save nothing. Okay, your story.
Yeah, well, lots of updates, lots of things to look out for, I guess, and watch out for Hillary.
Not so short updates.
And we're still waiting for Nigel or whatever. You keep saying that.
We're making plans for Nigel.
For Nigel, okay.
Okay, I'm gonna play that now, just because you get. We're gonna play it.
Every day you say that. All right.
Your story.
In cultural news, I don't know why our boobs are so frightening. Why musicians in Spain are going topless as a radical gesture. That's right. I think a couple days ago we were talking about how female nudity or whatever was taking Hollywood by storm, and then you went on an entire rant about how men are naked all the time if you consider the top area of your torso to be nudity.
Humans
men are
weird.
naked all the time. Yeah. Yep. In the middle of her performance at the Sonorama Festival in northern Spain, town of Aranda de Duero on Saturday, Eva Amaral was about to lead her band Amaral into her song Revolucion when she took off her red sequin top and threw it on the floor. This is for Rocio, for Rigoberta, for Zaraha, for Mirin, for Bibi, for all of us, she said, listing the name of fellow artists before uncovering her breasts. Because no one can take away the dignity of our nakedness, the dignity of our fragility, of our strength, because there are too many of us. In a concert marking the Spanish band's 25-year career, going topless was a way of defending women's dignity and freedom to go nude, in a very important moment, Amaral later told El País. But it was also a show of solidarity with a growing number of Spanish artists who are resorting to nudity to defend women's rights, and have been censored or attacked as a result. In June, police stopped a concert by singer Rocio Saez during Pride in Murcia after she took off her top performing her song Como Yo Te Amo, something the singer says she has done during performances for 10 years. Local police have since apologized and opened an inquiry into the incident, adding that a police officer acted incorrectly. Put a shirt on! Last year, Rigoberta Bandini's hugely popular ode to motherhood, Ay Mama, became a kind of feminist anthem in Spain, thanks to the lyrics such as I don't know why our boobs are so frightening and sticking out her breasts, Delacroix style. The singer drew both applause and criticism for showing her breasts on stage performing the song, and was later accused of censorship while actual breasts were noticeably absent from the song's music video. Amaral has made a reference to the singer Bebe, who in 2011 was ridiculed for displaying one of her breasts in a concert in Logroño, and to Zahara, a singer whose poster for a new album was censored in Toledo 2 years ago after Catholic groups had described it as offensive to the Virgin Mary. I bet Virgin Mary was walking around with her tits out, because back in the ancient times here, people didn't give a shit about breasts. They really didn't.
Like 2,000 years ago, it wasn't 10,000 years.
Yeah, people really didn't care this much about breast. Fetishization
I
of breasts is a very recent phenomenon.
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah, very recent phenomenon of people getting sexually attracted to breasts. That's not a normal thing.
I don't even know. I wasn't around in antiquity to speak.
I know there are some countries in this world that think it's weird. Wait, you fetishize that thing that helped you get fed when you were a baby? That's weird. No, so only a lot of Western countries, for some reason, have made that a prime example of, I don't know, sexual attraction, and other countries not so much. Feminist politicians quickly applauded Amara's gesture, including Deputy Prime Minister Yolanda Diaz, who thanked her for representing all women in the country and for defending rights that today are threatened. Equality Minister Irene Montero retweeted a picture of Amara with words, "For the dignity of our fragility, of our strength." Benuria Valera, who was involved in a creation of the country's first equality ministry in 2008, is the author of several books, including Feminism for Beginners. Amara's gesture echoed a feeling of being fed up. Since 2018, there has been a very clear demand for women's rights and experienced a significant setback in recent years. Said Valera, there is a sense that we're going back to things that we thought we had overcome. 2 years ago, the far-right Vox Party led efforts to remove a mural in Madrid celebrating an array of women from Nina Simone to Frida Kahlo, which is said to contain a political message. Going topless is overly political in Spain can partly be explained by the country's history. Valera says that it wasn't until the transition to democracy in the 70s and 80s that female nudity became an act of rebellion and sexual liberation in a strict Catholic system. Amaral's message is that we have worked hard for our freedoms and we are tired of having to reconquer them every 10 minutes, she said. It seems like our bodies still don't belong to us, despite so much fighting, so women's bodies continue to be a battleground. The feminist group Femen, known for organizing topless protests, was a more integral part of the Spanish feminist movement than in other European countries, Valera argued. It is not only recognized but respected. Women's rights to go topless in public seems to be under threat even at beach and swimming pools, where it has been widely accepted for decades. Though Spain continues to be the country where the highest number of women choose to sunbathe with their tops off, a study by the French pollster IFOP found that the practice is declining, with women leading the trend. Half of those who choose to cover up said the main reason was fear of sexual aggression. Earlier this week, the regional government of Catalonia put out a statement to local authorities in which they said women are supposed to be allowed to go topless in municipal swimming pools. This is also, I believe we did this week as well, that story about going to nude beaches. Remember? Mm-hmm. They were like, fuck you, it's a nude beach, we're gonna go be naked on it, and we're tired of feeling bad about being nude at a nude beach.
Get rid of your hang-ups about not having hang-ups already.
Yeah. Though the right to go topless is enshrined in a 2020 law, some public swimming pools have prohibited the practice, leading to several complaints of discrimination. But in a letter from the Department of Equality and Feminism, local authorities were told that stopping women from going topless excludes part of the population and violates their free choice of each person with regard to their body. Any town hall found to have breached the norm could receive a fine up to 500,000 euros. Yeah, imagine, I just want to go swimming. Let the ladies fly free. Leave me alone.
In the 70s, we had a saying, "You got too many hang-ups, man.
Yeah.
You got to get over it." They call them hang-ups.
It's not that serious, bro.
Things you can't get over. You know, things that are just, oh, my paradigm is so tortured today. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting your story.
I was done.
Okay,
you can really go on with this day in history.
And more prolific fornicators news. Genghis Khan's birthday today. No, wait, he died today. He died today in 1227 at the age of 65. And way I say legendary fornicator, he has been traced to 16 million descendants that are alive today. So Genghis Khan had a lot of kids. In 1477, Mary of Burgundy married Archduke Maximilian, son of the Habsburg Emperor Ferdinand III. On this day, 1477. In 1572, Henry, Prince of Béarn, later Henry IV of France, married Margaret of Valois of the French royal house. And words I still can't pronounce. In 1786, the city of Reykjavik was designated the administrative capital of Iceland. Did I get that right? Reykjavik?
Reykjavik.
Reykjavik. See, another thing I can't pronounce. 1896, according to lore, more than 200 outlaws from the regional gangs gathered at Brown's Hotel in the American West, where Butch Cassidy's proposed to organize the Train Robbers Syndicate, which became familiarly known as the Wild Bunch. In 1900, Indian political leader Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, one of the world's leading women in public life in the 20th century, was born in Allahabad. In 1934, Roberto Clemente, one of the first Latin American baseball stars of the United States, was born in Puerto Rico. 1936, Federico Garcia Lorca, who's widely considered one of the most important Spanish poet and playwright of the 20th century, was murdered by nationalist forces during the Spanish Civil War, which was concurrent to the World War II, basically, starting. 1936, American actor and director Robert Redford was born. In 1958, Russian-born author Vladimir Nabokov, who published his controversial novel Lolita, about a middle-aged man who becomes obsessed with a 12-year-old girl, famously quoted in, "Don't stand so close to me. Don't stand so close to me." Sorry, what?
Isn't there a song called Lolita as well?
Oh, that probably is. There's a movie called Lolita with, I'll think of it in a minute. You can look it up. There's a movie about it. Somebody made a movie with a book. Robert Mitchum is the older guy, and the young girl is, I want to say Natalie Wood or something. I don't remember.
The Stanley Kubrick film, Lolita.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, when he was younger, a lot younger. So who was in it? You can look it up. The Woodstock Music Festival.
Who was in it? Sorry, I just looked up what the film was. Sorry.
Okay, you can tell me later. The Woodstock Music and Arts Fair, legendary rock festival near Bethel, ended on this day in 1969. So Woodstock came to a close, and everybody's like, wow, let's clean this shit up. 1992, American basketball player Larry Bird, who led the Boston Celtics to 3 NBA championships, announced his retirement. And in 2008, facing possible impeachment, Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf resigned from office. And our featured event is this day in history in 1920. The 19th Amendment was ratified, and this day, 103 years ago, the 19th Amendment was ratified after Tennessee, by just one vote, became the 36th state to approve it, capping the 72-year fight to win women the right to vote in the United States. 72-year fight, and then 103 years, get the right to vote. And if you don't vote and you're a woman, they're going to take away your right to even say what you do with your own body. So you got there and vote. In 1830, Franz Joseph was born, famous birthday. 1933, Roman Polanski was born. In 1936, we covered Robert Redford. Did we cover Patrick Swayze?
I don't think so. I haven't heard that.
Patrick Swayze was born on this day. If he was alive, he would be 71. Wow, that doesn't seem right. In 1969, Edwin Norton, American actor, was born. Famously, I found out a descendant of, speaking of descendant, Edwin Norton is a descendant of Pocahontas. Yes. And what day is it today? It's National Pinot Noir. It's a red wine that'll get you shit-faced. Today, National Pinot Noir Day.
With your Parmesan cheese.
All right. Oh, and it's National Fajita Day. So fajita is that little slice of skirt steak alongside of a cow. So don't let them fool you into some other cut of meat. It's got to be that one. And it can't be from a chicken. Chickens don't have that. Get beef fajita. It's only from a cow. Sorry. Sorry if you're in India. It's national anyway. It has nothing to do with any other country. It's National Fajita Day, long story short. National Mail Order Catalog Day. Well, we've got Amazon.
That's how I got my bass guitar, I guess. A mail order catalog.
Right. And it's National Ice Cream Pie Day. So that's the days for today. National Ice Cream Pie. And fajita and wine. You've got it made today. And you can order some shit when you get that drunk.
Okay, well, that's been Allison here from the Netherlands. And for some reason, my audio didn't activate because that's.
Oh. How many times?
No,
how
I
much
mean
silence?
my
Okay.
music. My phone's going off.
Well,
We've gone late here today for coffee, but it's Friday, so we have to cover all the news so that we don't have to worry about it over the weekend.
Friday news dump, yeah.
Yep, and we will see you on Monday for finding out what happened while we were, getting drunk on wine and eating Parmesan cheese and having our ice cream pie. So, see you next time, I guess.
This is Roger getting the reset button for another week on Comprehensive News for Planet Earth on August 18th, 2023 edition of Before Coffee. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.